began with students, and then thereafter we've continued it as a department. So it's good to have a little bit of that history and the tradition of the Chicana-Chicanx movement of the 1960s and 70s. We're going to host this event by placing attention to questions of social justice, and in particular, what's going on right now in the world. I really want to dedicate this event to what's going on in Palestine, and I hope that we just keep in mind just the folks right now whose lives are being torn as we speak. And we have a variety of things that we're going to offer today, ofrendas para el Día de Muertos. We have guest speakers, we have songs, and perhaps most importantly, students are participating with their altars, their digital altars that they're going to be sharing with us toward the end. And then we're going to have an opportunity to also name the folks, those of us, those who are our ancestors or any ancestors in general that you want to honor toward the end. So this event is being recorded. If you would like to get a copy of it later, you can email the department coordinator, Viv Bui, who will put their email in the chat room so that you can request a link to the video afterward if you would like. So there it is. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to our department chair, Dr. Mary Rofe, to say a few words, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos y buenas tardes. My name is Dr. Mary Rofe. As Samuel shared, I am the interim chair of the Ethnic Studies Department. And this is really a highlight of the fall semester and of the year for me. This is our oldest, more recent annual Ethnic Studies event. And in addition to really creating space to hold those who are being massacred in Palestine in our hearts, I would also like to invite all of you to also hold all of your ancestors right within yourselves as we come together in Ubuntu, and also in recognition that this is unceded Yokuts land, to also hold Kukunuchi, the true warrior that our campus and our county is named after. So I'll turn it back over to Samuel, and again, welcome. Oh, you're muted, Samuel.
Thank you for letting me know. Thank you so much for being here and for welcoming our class and our students and our audience to this event. So I'm going to continue by presenting Dr. Jenny Luna, who completed her PhD in Native American Studies from UC Davis and is an associate professor in Chicana and Chicano Studies at California State University Channel Islands. Her research focuses on the contemporary history of Danza Mexica, Aztec dance tradition, and its impact on Chicana indigenous identity formation. So it's an honor to have you here, Jenny, so please go ahead and take it away.
Wali Wali, good evening, everyone. I'm sitting here next to my altar that I'm sharing with you this evening. And I started here last night, and this morning I was putting together my altar and sharing to the people I'm really thinking about this year. One being Dr. Roberto Simply Rodriguez, who passed away in end of July this year. And I have his book here on my altar. And I'm also thinking about another compañera. Her name is Elvira Colorado, and she was part of the first Chicana theater group in the nation, the Coatlicue Theater Company. And so these are two people I'm thinking about as I light this copal. And so in my little frame here, I'm trying to encompass as much as I can. So I started my altar by lighting this copal. And even though this is virtual, our belief is that when we put that thought out there, that it transcends time and space and borders. And so I've put this good thought here on this copal that I've lit to open us up here and ground us a little bit. And pardon the sirens going by, putting a thought out for them too. And so wanting to just sort of ground us, and I'm going to ask us all just to take 3 deep breaths, because we may have been running around throughout the day. Maybe you're coming from class, Maybe you ran to cook dinner for your family, lots of things that may cause us not to sort of feel present. And so want to open us up again with just on your own, take 3 deep breaths and allow yourself to be present and to be grounded. And so in lighting this copal, I'm also going to offer in my way a prayer to the 4 directions. And so wherever you're sitting, whatever lands you're on, whatever space you're on, if symbolically or physically, you can just sort of acknowledge each of the 4 directions, beginning with the east. And so I start with the east, the direction where the sun rises. And I'm gonna, hopefully, because I think we're all on mute, I'm gonna blow this caracol. And so I have this caracol, la tecocoli. And this represents the universe. If you think about the spiral of the Satecocoli, it reminds us of the universe. It also represents 2 of the sacred elements, water and air. And then we have the fire and the earth here on this altar. And so the 4 sacred elements for all of life to exist. And so we start with the east, and I'm going to offer this in Spanish, and I'll translate a little bit in English. So saludamos y pedimos permiso al lugar de Quetzalcóatl, lugar donde nace nuestro Padre Sol, Totatsin Tonatiu, el hacedor del día. Ometeo. Saludamos y pedimos permiso al lugar de Cihuatlampa, lugar de las mujeres muertas en el parto, aquellas guerreras que ofrendaron su vida para dar una nueva vida, aquellas mujeres que acompañan el sol en su camino. We give thanks to the direction of the east, the place where the sun rises. We give thanks to the direction of the west, the place of women energy, the place of women who have died in childbirth. And then we honor the direction of the north, the direction of the ancestors, the direction of the spirit world. And that's the direction that we're sitting in today. As we celebrate and honor our ancestors during these Días de Muertos. So we saludamos, pedimos permiso al lugar de Tezcalipoca, lugar de Miclampa, lugar de los antepasados, los abuelitos y abuelitas, y la sabiduría más profunda. Ometeo. And then we think about the direction of the south, the direction of the young people, the direction of the hummingbird, the direction of willpower. Y saludamos y pedimos permiso al lugar de Huitzlampa, el lugar de la fuerza de voluntad, el colibrí izquierdo. Ometeo.
Ometeo.
And then we think about everything that's above us, the sky, the cosmos, everything that's above us, everything that's below us. Saludamos y pedimos permiso al centro, el gran corazón del cielo, la gran jícara de los cosmos. Damos gracias por estar aquí esta noche unidos. We give thanks for all of us to be together in this space, united. Y saludamos y pedimos permiso a la madrecita la tierra, Tonantzin Cuatlicue, ella con falda de jade, con falda de serpientes, que un día abrirá sus gran fauces como un gran zigpacli, para devorarnos y regresarnos a la naturaleza y convertirnos en energía pura. We give thanks to this Mother Earth that one day we return to her and we become and transform into pure energy. Ometeo.
Ometeo.
And so we open in this way to call in our ancestors. And you were asked, and if you have a candle or 2, in our tradition, we light a candle for every ancestor that we're thinking about this year. And so if you have, even just really, we just use a little tea light candle. And these candles represent the spirit of these ancestors. So if you have 1 or if you have more, right now we're going to light these candles. And what's traditional is that we stay up all night until all the candles are out. And so we stay up all night, and it gives us that space, that sacred space, especially during the nighttime, where we look at these candles, we look at the fire, and we are able to reflect, and we call in those ancestors as they visit us through that fire, through that sacred element. And so the candle I'm gonna light my candles and ask you as well that if you have your candle, we're gonna light that candle together. And you keep that candle lit, and maybe it's a metaphorical candle. It's okay if you don't have one. And because sometimes, and usually we stay up all night till these candles go out. But if for some reason you can't stay up all night with your candle, or maybe you have a pretty big hefty candle, that's okay. Then what I'll ask you to do is, if you can't stay up with that candle all night, before you blow out the candle, you imagine that that candle is still lit. And then you blow out the candle, but it's still lit. And then you continue to light it for the next few days until the candle goes out. And so that gives you sort of a touchstone throughout the night, throughout the next few days, to think about these ancestors that maybe you're still mourning, maybe you miss them, or you're trying to find something that you can honor them and celebrate them. And so I'm going to light my candles here, and I'm going to ask you all as well to begin to light your candles. And it is a solemn night because some of us we have different feelings in thinking about those loved ones that have left this earth. But it also is a night of celebration. And so throughout our ceremonies, we usually eat all night long. And so we'll have tamales. So if you have something delicious to eat right now, that's a good thing too. We eat food with our muertos. And then sometimes we leave a little bit of that food on the altar for them, like a spirit plate. And so if you want to create a little spirit plate, you can. If you want to share your meal with your ancestors, or you just come and enjoy. And that offering is the gesture. It's the thought that you're sharing that with your ancestors. So, and that's okay. I see someone had Taco Bell. That's okay. Maybe your ancestors like those tacos from Taco Bell, whatever that is. We honor all of it. And so it's also about having joy and laughter and having good feelings about being present with your loved ones, with your ancestors, and then in community. And so with that, I open up this event, and I'll be back with throughout the evening with some other offerings and songs. But keep your focus on that candle that you have. If you have that candle throughout this event, your focus is your talking to your ancestors through that candle that you have. And so again, Kwali Yawali, good evening, and it's good to be in community. And thank you for sharing this beautiful night together. Oh, Mateo.
Well, Mateo, thank you so much, Jenny, for being with us, and we look forward to hearing, and offering one of your songs later on. And I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Sintley, because we do have a presentation honoring him and other elders in the community. Okay, thank you. So we're going to continue. Vamos a continuar, and I'm going to translate con Ricardo Colmenares Sanchez, who is based in Mexico City, and they're part of the Aztec dance group or Calpuli called Metzcualo Tonalyetzli. And they have been an Aztec dancer for 15 years now. So, Ricardo.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you for being here. Vamos a mostrar tu video, entonces no sé si quieres presentarlo antes de empezar. We're going to show a video that Ricardo produced, and before that, I'm asking if he wants to share a few words.
Sí, solo quiero compartirles un poco de lo que nosotros hacemos a nivel en el aspecto de la danza.
So I want to share a little bit of what we do at the, in the aspect of Aztec dance.
Vinculado a pues esta festividad de Día de Muertos y bueno, pues
to this Day of the Dead celebration.
Los dejo con el video y después vemos comentarios.
Okay, so I'm going to share the video, and then if there's any commentaries, I welcome that. So, okay, give me a second so I can get this set up here. Second, okay, aquí estamos. Okay. Muchas gracias. Thank you. ¿Algunas palabras que quieres decir, Ricardo, antes de continuar? Any words you'd like to share, Ricardo?
Nada, pues solo agradezco la oportunidad de compartirles un poco de lo que hacemos en la Ciudad de México con respecto al Día de los Descarnados o Día de Muertos.
Okay, so just thank you for the opportunity of sharing a little bit of what we do in Mexico City with the Day of the Dead. Okay, muchas gracias. Continuamos con la maestra Patricia. ¿Estás conectada, maestra? A ver, ¿dónde estás?
Kemakatsin, aquí estoy, doctor.
Ok, muy bien. A ver, permítame. Ok, qué gusto verte. Nice to see you. All right. So, do you want me to share, Pati, or do you want to share your screen?
I'll share my screen if it's okay.
Yeah, okay. Ready to
Perfect.
go. Well, let me introduce you formally. Sorry, I got
Yes.
so excited. Okay, I'm going to introduce Patricia Chicue Coatl, who was born in Mexico City, Tenochtitlan, and comes from a lineage of Nahuatl Temascaleros, Pulqueros, growers, and protectors of Huautli, amaranth, tlaoli corn, ethyl beans, and methyl agaves. She is the founder and leader of Calpuli Way Papalotl, a dance Mexica cultural circle in Huichin, Berkeley, California, has presented in a variety of spaces in the United States and Mexico. Bienvenidos, welcome, Patricia.
Name is Tlazokamati, Dr. Samuel. So I'm going to present my screen. And thank you for inviting. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Dr. Samuel, for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be here sharing sacred knowledge from about Mictlan and its importance to the Mexica people in relations to Days of the Dead. Mamoyolokatsin, may your venerable heart makes itself present. This knowledge comes from the heart of our ancestors, and so I would like to invite you to open up your heart so that this message comes to you. And before I start, I would like to share a little bit of context so that we know where this knowledge comes from. And it comes from a place, a region in the continent that is called, that the anthropologists have named Mesoamerica. So Mesoamerica is located in what is now known as Mexico and a little bit of in Central America. And as part of the Mesoamerican culture and cosmovision, I would like to share some of the principles of the Nahua cosmovision. And you will be able to see them in the recording, but I have highlighted for you the principles that, from my perspective, very obviously relate to our topic. So everything has consciousness, everything has a soul. Reciprocity is core to the life of every community. And this, as taught by Notemachticais in my maestro Gerardo Roque. And I also would like to share the 8 principles of Maya cosmovision. And I also have highlighted those that very obviously relate to our topic. Everything is sacred. Everything needs to be fed and sustained. And everything has cause and effect. I die every day without noticing it. And my body is spinning on the palm of death as if it were a spinning top. Thread of my blood, who will wrap you up? Those are the beautiful words of poet Jaime Sabines from Chiapas, Mexico. But if we die every day without noticing it, and we are still here, where do we actually go when we die? Nobody in the Western traditions knows about that. On the other hand, we on the Mesoamerican tradition know about the sacred places where we go when we die. And you might ask yourself, but why is it important for us to know about Mictlan, right? We are surrounded by so many shiny things, and we have so many electronic devices, and this is such a modern world, so who cares about Mictlan, right? Well, let me share with you that we care a lot about Mictlan and also about what happens when we go to Mictlan. Precisely for we have several reasons. One of the main reasons is that we honor and we support our ancestors or muertitos as they go through their journey to Mictlan, which is a very painful and difficult journey, but at the same time, it's a very purifying and healing journey for them, for their souls. So that's why it's important for us. Have you heard about Quetzalcoatl? Yes, I guess maybe a lot of you have heard about Quetzalcoatl, the beloved feather serpent, Kukulkan or Gukumats, as known by our Maya relatives. In one of our creation stories, it is said that before the current era where we are living right now, there were 4 other eras. Each of them had their own humankind, and unfortunately, each of them were destroyed because the human beings on those eras did not honor, did not respect the sacred entities and nature as they had agreed to. So in one of the eras, the human beings were turned into monkeys. In another one, they were turned into fish. In yet another one, they were destroyed by a rain of fire. So after 4 attempts, the sacred entities gathered in Teotihuacan and decided to try once more. But for that, they needed a very strong, a good-hearted, decisive, strategic warrior with a very clean heart, so that he would go all the way to Mictlan and confront none other than Mictlan Tecuhtli, the Lord of the land of the dead, so that Quetzalcoatl could go there and fetch the precious bones from the previous humankind, so that we could be created from those precious bones. So after a very painful, a very challenging journey, where Quetzalcoatl dies because he goes to Mictlan, he's able to come back with the precious bones. And we finally are lovingly created out of those bones. So in the Mesoamerican traditions, we know that precisely when we sleep, we go to Mictlan. So we go every day, every night, every time we sleep. And obviously, if everything goes fine, we come back from Mictlan, as Quetzalcoatl did. We come back from Mictlan with the precious energy from our ancestors. We come back replenished, refreshed, and maybe some of us with dreams where our ancestors guide us as to what to do, right? But there's going to be a time in which our Miquistli, our undead, is going to decide that it's time for us to go with her. And again, so where are those places? And according to our tradition, there are several places. Tlalocan is the place of Tlaloc. It is said that it's a beautiful place, like a paradise. And we go there if we die out of water-related causes, like for instance, drowning. Tonalcalco, the place of the house of the sun, that's where warriors go, warriors who died in battle or women who died in childbirth. And Dr. Jenny Luna just prayed to them a few minutes ago. Chichihualcauco, that's where the children go. And it is said that there's a beautiful big tree that instead of giving fruit, it gives milk. So the children go to those branches and they drink that milk, and they are fed and sustained until they are ready to come back to Intlastipac again, to try it again. And finally, Mictlan, the place of eternal rest. And we go there when we go of natural causes. It is very important for us to know that the journey to Mictlan, as Ricardo showed in his video, it consists of several layers or underworlds. And it is important for us to know that each of those underworlds will present a very tough and a very difficult challenge. But a challenge is meant for us to, is meant to purify the dead, is meant to purify and to heal them, so that when they reach Mictlan, they are completely clean and healed. This is another view of how we see the 9 underworlds, and Tlactipac, that's where we are right now. So it is during Days of the Dead when we set up altars, as you saw with Dr. Jenny Luna, when we light candles, as she did, as so a lot of you did right now, maybe some of you have several candles that are lit, and we offer songs, we offer prayers, we offer copal. If some of you have the chance to light a little bit of copal or a little bit of sage safely, do it, because that's when we help, we support our muertitos as they go through their journey to Mictlan. So I would like to now invite you to take a deep breath, and I'm glad that Dr. Jenny Luna asked us to take some deep breaths. So let's take a deep breath. And I also would like to invite you to think, to feel a loved one that has transitioned, because what we're going to do is we're going to help them in their journey to Mictlan as they go through the underworlds. So in the first underworld, it's called Itzcuintlan. It's the land of the Itzcuintli, the dog. In that place, there's a big treacherous river that the muertitos have to cross. So let's pray for the muertitos to have a safe passage through that river, and they're going to be guided by the noble Itzcuintli, the Mesoamerican dog. If we have been nice to dogs, rest assured that we're going to have lots of support, lots of help, and lots of guidance. But if we haven't, I think we have to be careful. So let's pray for our muertitos so that they have a safe cross on in their first underworld. Tepetl Monamikian, that's where the two hills crash with each other. So the muertitos, will have to run very fast to cross to the other side, and they have to avoid being crushed by the two hills. So let's pray in our altar. Let's pray with our candle. If you want, you can close your eyes and let's pray for our muertitos to have a safe passage across or through those two hills, and that they are not crushed by them. It's Tepetl, the obsidian hill. It's a beautiful hill, but it's covered by obsidian flints. So in your altar, if you haven't done it, do it afterwards. Put some petals of flowers, of cempasúchil flowers, on the road that leads to your altar, so that your muertitos step on the flowers or on the petals instead of on the obsidian flints. Let's pray for them. Let's pray so that they have a safe walk through its step without being hurt. It's Ehekayan, it's the obsidian winds. That's where our muertitos are going to find really, really excruciatingly cold winds, So please put on a warm sweater, a thick jacket, and send them the warm, because they wear close to no clothes. And after the excruciatingly close winds from Itzehekayan, now those winds are going to turn into excruciatingly strong winds in Pancuecuetlakayan, where the winds are so strong that the muertitos have to grab into whatever they can so that they are to avoid being swept. Let's pray so that they can stay strong and so that they can hold onto the thing that they have found. In Temiminaloyan, the place of the arrows, the muertitos will have to run as fast as they can as they try to avoid being hurt by the arrows that are thrown by the sacred entities from Mictlan. And then getting close to Mictlan, they have to confront a place where there's lots of jaguars, lots of ocelot, that as a purification ritual, those ocelot, those jaguars will eat their hearts of the muertitos. So let's pray for the purification, so that their purification is not as painful as it seems is going to be. And then it's Mictlan Apochcalocan is the fog that blinds, until finally they reach Mictlan, the place of eternal rest. And here I would like to share with you the words of the writer Gonzalo Zacuala, who describes what happens when our muertitos finally reach Mictlan. The guide smiled, saying, "My warrior friend, you were really brave. You succeeded in following this painful journey. You will be warmly welcome as you cross the threshold of Mictlan. Do you want to see your body for the last time?" The man, now no longer a traveler, assented, and together they walked to the edge of the dark lagoon, which reflected images like a luminous mirror. The warrior calmly observed his features. Nothing scared him anymore. His body was fleshless, heartless, and lacerated all over by the sharp flints, arrows, and obsidian blades, unrecognizable even to him. Yet he felt satisfied. He had reached Mictlan, the underworld paradise. He cast a grateful look at his guide, giving his good friend a firm hug. A warm light subtly enveloped him. What was left of his body fell to the ground, and without knowing how, he followed the gods to his final home, Mictlan, the place of the eternal rest, Ometeotl. And in closing, as you have seen, Mictlan is of utmost importance to us, Nahua and Mexica people. Its importance is highlighted during Days of the Days. However, I would like to say that it is every single day that we should be good to all animals, especially dogs, that we should be respectful of each other, and that we should honor around Mikistli so that when she decides that it is time for us to go with her, we are ready and we are strong enough to go through that journey. While that happens, I would like to invite you to support your muertitos as they go through that painful and healing and beautiful journey. Namesh Tlazokamati, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and attention today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your palabras, Maestra Patricia Chicoatl. Nice to see you again. And if folks, just as a reminder, if you want to watch the video of the recording, feel free to request a copy. And also, if you do have any questions, you can also send a private chat to Patricia or put it in the chat room, who could answer some questions. So thank you so much. Nice to see you. Okay, we're going to continue now with learning more about contemporary Mexico, the ways in which Day of the Dead is celebrated there. So we're going to continue with Victor Manuel Escoto. I'm going to go ahead and formally introduce them, and we'll go ahead and continue. So Victor Manuel Escoto is a mixed media artist based in Mexico City. Their art is featured in a variety of publications, including the Spring 2023 cover of Feminist Formations, and also the flyer for this year's Day of the Dead event at CSU Stanislaus. As an art restorer, they have worked in the Frida Kahlo Museum, Chapultepec Park, and Templo Mayor, the main temple of the Mexica or the Aztec people. So please help me welcome Victor Manuel. Bienvenidos, Victor Manuel.
Hola, buenas noches. ¿Qué tal, profesor Samuel Pañales?
Good evening and hello, Professor. So, voy a poner tu presentación y empezaremos. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just get the presentation ready and we're going to go ahead and start. Okay, yeah. Okay, puedes empezar.
Ok. Bueno, ¿qué tal? Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Víctor Manuel Escoto. Soy de la Ciudad de México.
Good night. My name is Victor Manuel Escoto and I'm from Mexico City.
Ok, gracias. Pues yo soy el autor de la imagen del flyer del evento del Día de Muertos.
So I designed the flyer for this year's Day of the Dead event.
Ajá, les voy a platicar sobre dos aspectos. En qué me inspiré cuando hice la imagen del flyer y algunos aspectos del Día de Muertos contemporáneo aquí en México.
So I'm going to share a little bit about what inspired me to do the flyer, and I'm going to also share some images of contemporary Mexico City Day of the Dead events.
Ok, pues rápidamente. Pues quise representar yo a la muerte en colores neones, textiles indígenas como los tenangos en la forma del cráneo, y pues quise hacerlo como un tributo usando la muerte presente en el desierto, en las fronteras, con el fondo, el cielo representado cada estrella por cada persona que muere en el intento.
So I was inspired by a lot of the indigenous colors, specifically Tenango community and the skull, and also I use a lot of neon colors, and the desert to represent the border, and also the stars to represent all those lives that we've lost who've attempted to cross.
Gracias. La siguiente, por favor. Ok, pues los aspectos del Día de Muerto contemporáneo aquí en México, pues es imposible negar que esta celebración, sobre todo en las grandes ciudades, pues ha cambiado mucho en estos últimos años.
So it's important to mention that, you know, so many changes have happened, especially in a big city like Mexico City. So there's a lot of changes that are happening.
Okay. Pues bueno, las ofrendas son cada vez más pequeñas, van cambiando a veces muchas cosas que sustituyen lo natural por plástico, en este caso el papel picado por plástico, y algunas flores como de cempasúchil también por flores de papel. Se considera ahora como una construcción social que cambia temporalmente y se actualiza y se va renovando.
So one of the changes is that, for example, they'll use plastic flowers or even the papel picado, which we are actually going to have a presentation about later, may use plastic instead of the actual kind of more of the materials that are traditionally used. So these are some of the changes that we see happening.
Ok, gracias. La siguiente. Ok, bueno, aquí hay un ejemplo sobre, bueno, hay varios ejemplos de diferentes regiones aquí en México, como en Chiapas. El Día de Muertos en Chiapas continúan con algunas tradiciones heredadas ancestralmente. Como un ejemplo, les pongo aquí a San Juan Chamula, que es una región que está a unos kilómetros de San Cristóbal de las Casas.
So here's one region in Mexico called Chiapas, in which you could see that they still do a lot of kind of more of the traditional celebrations. And one specific example is here, this place called San Juan Chamula de las Casas.
Okay. Aquí celebran el Día de Muertos en 2 días. El día 1 se celebra la fiesta de todos los santos en cementerios, ponen altares, ofrendas. El segundo día es cuando los muertos regresan al lugar que le llaman el lugar de los huesos ardientes, que es donde sus almas descansan. Eso lo hacen en el segundo día y es como una tradición maya.
And so there's a kind of different processes in terms of how they celebrate. And so, ¿el primer día qué es?
El primer día se festejan el Día de Muertos de Todos los Santos. O
So
sea, hacen los
yeah,
rituales.
so the first day they celebrate all the saints, all the folks who passed on.
Sí.
Okay.
El segundo día es cuando las almas. Ajá.
¿El segundo día qué?
El segundo día es cuando regresan los muertos al lugar, lugar de los huesos ardientes.
Yeah, so then the second day, so the first day is those that passed, the second day is when they return, and so they celebrate that on the second day.
Gracias. La siguiente, por favor, gracias. Y bueno, aquí en Oaxaca, el Día de Muertos lo simbolizan a través de fiestas, recuerdos, música, mediante comparsas, tapetes monumentales hechos con acerrín y con arenas pigmentadas. Son tapetes monumentales.
So here you could see another region in Mexico, it's in Oaxaca.
Ujú.
¿Y qué puedes repetir la segunda parte?
Sí, en Oaxaca lo simbolizan a través de las fiestas, eh, con música, altares como con 9 niveles. Van a los cementerios igual a poner las ofrendas y los altares, las velas para que puedan encontrar la luz los que ya no están aquí.
Yeah, so it's typical. You'll have, for example, music at the cemeteries, as you see here with candles, and just celebrating and having the different levels, the different tiers to the altares. So that's pretty typical.
Sí, el siguiente pues también es una tradición ancestral que es en el estado de Michoacán, particularmente en el lago de Pátzcuaro, que pues son islas donde viajan a través de las trajineras con las ofrendas y con los rituales. Eh, Hay gente que cree que los purépechas no celebran la muerte, más bien celebran como la otra vida o la vida que continúa después de la muerte.
So another region is Michoacan, and specifically the lake called Pátzcuaro, and it's also they celebrate ancestral traditions there. And some say that the Purepecha people aren't really celebrating necessarily death, but the life that comes afterward.
Okay. Bueno, y aquí en la Ciudad de México están unos canales en Xochimilco y en Cuemanco. Hay unos embarcaderos donde uno se sube a las trajineras y se hace un recorrido por los canales. Hay una presentación pues de La Llorona, lo hacen pues en las islas, son obras de teatro en medio de los canales, de las chinampas que están ahí en Xochimilco.
So this is this is near Mexico City in Xochimilco, and there's another place called Cuemanco where they have the canals from old Tenochtitlan. And so there they have a celebration, specifically, they have a play where they honor La Llorona as part of the Day of the Dead celebration.
Ok, y bueno, y también se hace aquí en la capital, en una avenida principal que es Paseo de la Reforma, se hacen festivales de las flores de cempasúchil sobre la avenida hasta llegar al bosque de Chapultepec.
So here's a famous street in Mexico City called Reforma, and they have a festival of flowers of Sepansuchil that you could see that goes all the way into Chapultepec Park.
Sí, la mayoría son productos provenientes igual del sur de la Ciudad de México, como Xochimilco, Tláhuac, Milpalta. Allá siembran mucho la flor de cempasúchil.
So a lot of these flowers come from the south regions of Mexico City, where they grow the Sepansuchil flower.
También hay una exposición de mexicráneos, igual también sobre la avenida Reforma, y a veces lo hacen en la explanada del Zócalo de la Ciudad de México. Son exposiciones de arte urbano, es nacional, internacional, concursan diferentes regiones, representando por cráneos, y se mezcla como el arte moderno con el arte tradicional.
So they have an exposition of big cranes, monumental skulls that are exhibited also in the same street of Reforma and maybe even all the way to the downtown. And you can see kind of a mix between modern and traditional coming here together in these large skull expositions.
Pues también hay diferentes eventos que hacen altares. Aquí en el ejemplo que les pongo, del lado derecho hay una fuente una fuente barroca, está al sur de la Ciudad de México, en San Ángel, y pues utilizan los colores neones. Algunos son muy originales, por ejemplo, esa fuente es de Talavera, eh, está hecha de porcelana y son altares monumentales también.
So there's also a variety of monumental altars throughout the city. Here in the South Park called San Angel, they have these different altares, and this one in particular is like a fountain, Baroque style with porcelain, and then they use like neon lights and stuff like that, but they're really big.
Ok, sí, pues los altares, la mayoría los utilizan, por ejemplo, el arte de papel picado. O sea, son colores como muy encendidos, neones, son altares donde a veces miden hasta como 10 metros de altura, dependiendo las instituciones gubernamentales. Lo utilizan a veces explanas de museos, en las plazas, en palacios de gobierno.
So you also have altars that are really, really huge. Like for example, some might be up to 10 meters in terms of height. And it just really depends on who's organizing it, maybe which entity. But here you could see, for example, they have papel picado that they use.
Okay. Pues también se encuentran eventos donde hacen, por ejemplo, en bicicletas, ponen altares como los zompantlis con cráneos igual hechos con cartonería, catrinas también están hechas con papel picado, las van colocando en puntos estratégicos. Por ejemplo, aquí en la imagen hay un evento que hacen ahí donde parten de la catedral para hacer los recorridos en bicicletas. Hay para adultos y para niños.
They even have like a bicycle ride throughout the city. And so, for the dead. And so you have like different decorations throughout the city. You might have a Zompantli, which is the one in the center, or like Catrinas, which is a doll on the left, and a lot of papel picado, just decorating the city throughout.
Ok, pues sí, aquí en la explanada del Zócalo ponen también pues el Festival de las Ofrendas y los arreglos florales. Se pueden ver en negocios o en instituciones como el Palacio Nacional, afuera de Catedral. Este año me parece que van a hacer, o están haciéndolo con motivos revolucionarios, igual hechos con cartonería, y hay unos que miden hasta 17 metros de altura.
So here you have in the downtown, the National Palace, they do really big altars, just, several meters high. And I think this year's theme has to do with like revolutionaries that they're going to be honoring.
Ok, y pues hace unos años aquí se estrenó una película de James Bond en el 2015 con la película Espectro. En la película hay escenas donde hay desfiles de Día de Muertos, entonces pues ahí a partir de esa fecha comienzan oficialmente con el desfile de del material que utilizaron para la película de James Bond. El argumento era que había que crear un festival para que los turistas pudieran venir a la Ciudad de México y vean que también se puede utilizar esos medios como a través de la Secretaría de Turismo y hacerlo cada año.
So in 2015, the film Spectre, the Hollywood film James Bond theme, was filmed in Mexico City, and with the Day of the Dead theme. And so as a result of that, then they created this annual parade, and different entities in the city were involved. And so now we have, this celebration.
Sí, pues el desfile este año comienza a partir del 21 de octubre. Comienzan con un desfile de alebrijes y luego continúan el siguiente fin de semana con un desfile de zombies, igual con carrocerías, con con comparsas, comienzan saliendo de la explanada de Chapultepec y se dirigen hacia el Zócalo por toda Avenida Reforma y llegan hacia el Zócalo.
And so you have different parades that happen. One is like the zombie one, and then there's another one with alebrijes, which if you watch the film Coco, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's kind of paper mache, colorful crafts that they make. And it begins in Chapultepec Park all the way to the downtown main square.
Sí, y bueno, pues en este caso es como lanzar una pregunta al aire sobre el arte contemporáneo en el Día de Muertos aquí en la Ciudad de México, si continúa siendo una tradición, diversión, comercialización o una coadaptación, en este caso con el tema de pues, todas las películas que hay rodadas aquí en la Ciudad de México. Por ejemplo, aquí puse afuera del Museo de Frida, pues colocan también una Catrina con la imagen de Frida. Todo eso es a través de quizá una comercialización, diversión. No sé, sería como una pregunta al aire, ¿qué ventajas hay sobre el nuevo concepto aquí en el Día de Muertos?
So here's just a general question for us to think about whether or not, is this a tradition? Is it just fun? Is it part of commercialization or co-optation of, this ancestral holiday? You see, for example, in the image that like at the Frida Kahlo, you have kind of this skull kind of, representing her. So again, it's just a question for us to think about as, these practices evolve and change.
Pues eso es todo por mi parte. Tlazocamati, muchas gracias. Thank you, profesor Bañales. Saludos a todos sus alumnos y muchas gracias por la invitación.
All right. So again, thank you y muchas gracias por presentar. Okay, so, all right, we're going to continue with the event. And now we are going to have Margaret give us a little bit of papel y picado, and then we have some music to celebrate our ancestors. Okay, Margaret.
Oh, hello, everyone. Let me get these slides going. Let's see. Beep, it was working before. There we go.
Oh, and let me formally introduce yourself. I get excited because I already know some of these folks, right? So, sorry. Let me formally introduce you. It's because I'm also doing a bunch of things, answering questions in the chat, moving screens. Okay, so all right, Margaret Kika Alarcon is an Afro-Chicana from East LA with an MA in cross-cultural education and an MFA in fine arts. She's a professional artist, educator, and cultural worker whose creative interests includes painting, drawing, printmaking, and papel picado. Please help me welcome Margaret.
Hello, everyone. Let me see. I'm going to share. There we go. Okay. I just wanted to get this going. So good evening, first of all. Good evening, and thank you. I hope everything's not. Wait, hold on. Okay, good evening, and thank you for being here today. My name is Margaret Alarcon. Some people call me Kika, and my pronouns are she, her, ella, and ella. I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to present this information about the legacy of papel picado and its relationship with Días de los Muertos, or Days of the Dead. And just to be clear, I come from a family of very creative women. So for over 30 years, women in my family have been designing and producing handmade traditional Mexican papel picado. Let's see, go to the next one. The ofrenda, as we have been hearing about, is the most essential sacred object of Dia de los Muertos ceremonial traditions, right? And a traditional Dia de los Muertos ofrenda usually carries the 4 elements of matter. or it's known. Fire is represented by the candles that we lit this earlier on, and water for thirsty travelers. Earth is represented by flowers, salt, bread, favorite foods, right? And then air or wind, which is papel picado. And it's also said that the papel on the ofrendas, when they're moved by a breeze, marks the arrival of the spirits. So what we know as paper was one of the imports that came from Europe, and a common name for tissue paper is papel de China, or paper from China, or papel de seda, paper of silk. And papel de China got its name from when it first arrived in ships called galleons that sailed from China to Mexico after the conquest, somewhere between 1521 and 1530. And since the paper crafting has taken on many forms, such as cascarones, like hollowed out eggs filled with confetti, or piñatas, paper flowers, and papel picado. So many of you know or have seen papel picado at festivals or celebrations, and papel picado translates to paper that is perforated, cut, chopped, or minced, like steak picado. And so the traditional art of papel picado, or Mexican cut paper, is a decorative craft made by cutting simple silhouettes or elaborate designs out of sheets of tissue paper. And in Mexico, the designs are hand cut from as many as 40 to 50 colored tissue papers stacked together using a guide or a template, a small hammer, and some chisels. And papel picado can also be made by folding tissue paper and using small sharp scissors. Here's a photo of an artist in Mexico using repurposed car parts for tools, because they can withstand the hammering force of cutting through 40 or 50 sheets. Here's an elder in Mexico working on a papel design. It gets really messy, as you can see. Let me tell you, that paper gets everywhere and in everything. And doing this work can be really long and meditative. And cutting more than 25 sheets can be really rough on the body over time. In San Salvador, Puebla, the papel picado is usually mass produced, so it requires a different, more streamlined approach for stringing, packaging, and selling. We do it like on tables in the house, but here you can see how beautiful they have to lay out the string and glue it. There are infinite possibilities when it comes to the world of papel picado designs, and working with positive and negative shapes. The grid is what usually holds the imagery in place, if you notice. The positive space is the object that we're talking about, like you can see the guitarra here in the first one, and the negative space is the background or areas around the object. And the grid holds everything in place. These are Margaret Sosa's original custom designs. She's my tia. And they were made by the Hollywood Bowl on the left, and you could see self-help graphics on the right. And there are some who suspect that the grid pattern was inspired by the vintage crochet doilies used in Catholic altars or ofrendas in churches. That shift from papel picado as celebration to the sacred made a really big impression on my personal artwork as a professional artist. And so my current works of art are interactive papel picado photographic sculptural altars or ofrendas that are meant to float and kinetically interact with their environment, like mobiles, creating a sort of an interplay with shadows that are made to honor my ancestors and explore the wisdom and healing powers of memory and domestic life rituals. And this group exhibition at the Menini Shrem that you see here served 20,000 people, with over 2,000 people attending the opening night, the highest number in the museum's history. So this object on the left shows a photo printed on a matl paper taken in Coyoacan, Mexico, of my grandmother with her comadres in the 1940s. You can see the ofrenda aspect here. Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera lived somewhere close by in this photo at the time, and they were well known in the neighborhood. And you can see on the right, the ancient papel picado symbol for tears, or lágrimas, are cut out across the bottom of the artwork. I've added them there. So there's ancient roots of papel picado amate paper that some know about and some don't, and they're connected to Otomi spiritual figures. So the practice of papel picado has very deep spiritual roots, and it's used in many indigenous rituals and ceremonies. Otomi paper figures are cut by medicine people using amate paper, or papel amate, it's called. So the Maya call their paper hun, and the Nahuatl word for paper is amatl, named after the mulberry or fig tree that it's made from. So today amate is made by the Otomi in a few small villages in northern Puebla, northern Veracruz, and southern Hidalgo, or states of Mexico. In those states of Mexico. And amate is a type of bark paper that has been manufactured in Mexico for thousands of years and was extensively produced and used for both communication, records, books, ceremonies, and blood offerings in rituals, and also banners, like paper banners, similar to papel picado. So papel mate can be prepared in a variety of ways. Paper makers are individually, or they can be dyed too, but paper makers are individually recognized like master craftsmen in other fields. You could see some samples here. The Otomi are Roman Catholic and earth-based now. They're earth-based community where there's like a balance and harmony, and balance and harmony are essential functions. And there is a relationship of reciprocity. Rituals are used as an offering dedicated to the spirits. And in return, the spirits are expected to abide by the wishes of the people. And Saki in the Otomi word is the word for spirit or life force, which animates all beings. And rituals are used to control the Saki and in some way. And these spirits can be benevolent or they can be malevolent. I don't want to say bad or good, but yeah, not so bad, not so great. And, but there is a relationship of reciprocity also here, right? So most of the time, paper cutting ceremonies are petitions for good crops, good health, and protection. And on the left, you see the main characteristics of the beneficial spirits. And we know it's a beneficial spirit because at the bottom, you can see it is barefooted or has roots on the feet, connecting them to the earth. And on the right, a harmful spirit typically has boots or spiky beards, showing that they are outsiders, Spaniards or mestizo. Here you can see paper making and cutting has actually become a major source of income in San Pablito, and some of these figures will be used to sell to tourists. It's a community event. Here, this is a medicine person cutting a spirit figure using scissors. In sacred ceremonies, spirit figures or muñecos are cut by medicine people or spiritual leaders, and the paper is only becomes sacred when a medicine person is cutting it ritually. Here is a medicine person performing a ritual with a paper sun at the center of the altar or the ofrenda. The amate spirit figures are often burned or buried during a ritual as an offering or as part of a cleansing. And spirit figures are always cut with arms raised. The figures that represent the dead are cut with arms lowered. So traditional papel picado, and I think papel picado, in terms of what I've presented today, is an ephemeral art form. It's a delicate product. Tissues, colors fade, the paper can get tangled and tear easily. Papel picado was not intended to stand the test of time. However, in my family, we truly enjoy the sacred message of papel picado. We appreciate the honesty, the textures, and fragile nature of paper. It's like a metaphor for life. All things must end, and sometimes the end is good, and sometimes it hurts or cuts deep. And creating ephemeral art teaches us to stay in the present and accept the impermanence of life and nature, because the most beautiful memories, like the wave of an ocean, a sunset, or the embrace from a loved one, are not meant to be permanent, only cherished and really appreciated. Thank you for this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your attention, time, and patience.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for sharing that. And someone did mention, they're like, oh, we want to have a workshop in papel picado. So who knows? Future collaborations, right?
Right. Yeah, it usually is part of that. Yeah, it's a class.
Okay, a whole class then, huh?
Gracias.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and continue with Fernando. Are you listo, Fernando? We're going to have some live music, because that's one of the ways we celebrate our loved ones. Entonces, Fernando.
Yeah, we are here.
Take it away. And I'm going to go ahead and formally introduce you. Just wanted to make sure you were ready. Okay. All right. So Fernando Moran is a musician, actor, and has produced different recordings through radio. He's dedicated to researching music and social movements and has written 2 books. He organized the annual Day of the Dead celebration activities in Santa Barbara, California, and his continued cultural work in different areas, including Los Angeles, Ventura, and the Bay Area. Así que, okay, Fernando, go ahead.
Yo andaba buscando la muerte cuando me encontré contigo. Yo andaba buscando la muerte cuando me encontré contigo. De ahí tengo el corazón en 2 mitades partido. De ahí tengo el corazón en 2 mitades partido. La una le teme a la muerte, a la otra le espanta el olvido. La una le teme a la muerte, a la otra le espanta el olvido. De ahí tengo el corazón en 2 mitades partido. De ahí tengo el corazón en 2 mitades partido. Era un momento la dicha, repentina la alegría. Era un momento la dicha, repentina la alegría. Y aunque han pasado los años, nunca ha pasado aquel día. Y aunque han pasado los años, nunca ha pasado aquel día. La dicha quedó conmigo, es eterna la alegría. La dicha quedó conmigo, ya es eterna la alegría. Y aunque han pasado los años, nunca ha pasado aquel día. Y aunque han pasado los años, nunca he olvidado aquel día.
Hi, good evening, everybody. This is Citlali, Alex, Fernando. We are from Mexico. But I'm here from 35 years ago. I am a migrant. The song that we performed before, it was from Oaxaca, called La Izhuateca. Now we're going to perform another piece. It's called the Return from Quetzalcoatl, El Regreso de Quetzalcoatl. And this is a composition for Citlali.
Nice song. Nadie sabe si fue un ser de carne y huesos, si es un dios o un reflejo que nunca desapareció. Se empeñó en poder llevar a cabo la misión, nada menos que de poner en los hombres un corazón. Se arriesgó y se encargó. Mi clan inframundos cruzó y los huesos ancestrales rescató y sin sangre se quedó. Vuelo, vuela, vuelo inmenso sobre el mito de un guerrero que envuelto en bello e imponente plumaje sobre estrella renació. Vuelo, vuela en aurora boreal verde azulada, que tus alas son caricias pinceladas que serenan mi mirada, que tus alas son caricias pinceladas que serenan mi mirada. Pero Serpiente Preciosa comenzó a enamorarse de su propia creación, de su pueblo, de su gente, y ya no quiso que la sangre de estos fuese el alimento de los dioses. Entonces las deidades comenzaron a enfurecerse y diseñaron un plan para hacerle pagar lo que ellos consideraron su fatal error, su imperdonable condena. De Tezcatlipoca, que era otra esencia, vino una traición, y a causa de 4 porciones de pulque y veneno que le ofreció, un espejo de obsidiana su imagen distorsionó. Quetzalcóatl bebió, salió al pueblo y todo lo destruyó, y enloquecido al día siguiente vio la espalda de su gente de rodillas desfalleció, y del alma herido en el crepúsculo se alejó, pero volver prometió. Y del alma herido en el crepúsculo se alejó, pero volver prometió. Vuelo, vuela, vuelo inmenso, a tu regreso esperaré. Vuelo, valles, ríos, fuego, piedras, tú seré. Mi sol, mi quetzal, mis tormentas, nuestra serpiente no te olvidó. No se olvida quien con su espíritu trasciende tiempo, espacio, historia y vida. No se olvida quien su partida nos hizo humanos para sentir las heridas. No se olvida quien con sus manos aliento eterno nos dio. No se olvida. No se olvida quien con sus manos aliento eterno nos dio. No se olvida. No se olvida. No se olvida, no se olvida.
Ahora Citlali nos va a explicar un poco de la canción.
Bueno, es un honor estar en esta nueva tierra para nosotros. Gracias a la invitación de Fer, ha sido posible esto. Y bueno, pues gracias a mucho esfuerzo también estamos aquí y agradecidos de este espacio. Como experiencia, pues agradecer siempre y agradecer que este tipo de tradiciones se expandan porque pues es la diversidad de pensamiento lo que es la riqueza de la humanidad. Y en ese sentido pues quisimos hacer este rescate. Esta canción la escribimos entre mi hijo y yo. Mi hijo ahora tiene 16 años, se la dedico también con todo mi corazón. Y es para nivelar lo material y lo espiritual. Ambas son cosas importantes y creemos que lo material está llevándose llevando de gane al espíritu. Entonces tenemos que, bueno, desde nuestro punto de vista, nivelarlo, rescatar pues la esencia de la humanidad, que es compartir dolores, alegrías, pensamientos, colores de piel, todo eso. Entonces es más o menos nuestra tendencia así musical, filosófica, y la queremos compartir con ustedes agradecidos, agradecidos. Solamente Hubyach es un proyecto mexicano y del mundo, más bien, que se dice música del mundo, así es, música del mundo, música contra el olvido, es Caracol Verde a su lado. Agradecidos.
Y bien, pues también en la tradición de Día de Muertos hay algo muy peculiar que son las calaveras, ¿verdad? Yo me he dedicado a escribir algunas calaveras y vamos a leer una rápidamente acerca de los 50 años del golpe militar en Chile. Ya cayó el general, le dieron puro Chile, el clamor es popular y no hay quien le chille. Como a todos los sabuesos, a Pinochet le llegó su hora. Y ahora es un par de huesos del basurero de la historia. De nada sirvió la junta militar, ni medallas ni rangos. Si al zoológico fue a parar, el gorila con sus changos. El pueblo es culpable de los hechos, de eso nadie duda. Inspirado estuvo en los versos del poeta Pablo Neruda. Gracias.
Okay. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I can't translate verbatim everything that was spoken about, but just to summarize, they were talking about the music and what it means to them. And also they read this tradition of with the different skulls. And in this case, you know, it's oftentimes used as a parody or critique here. So we're going to close. ¿Alguna otra cosa que quieren decir antes de que terminemos?
No, está bien, todo bien.
Okay.
Agradecer muchísimo el espacio, de verdad, y gracias por compartirlo. Y gracias a todos los que están presentes, ausentes, como sea. A todos.
No, a ustedes muchas gracias por ofrecernos aquí música, ofrender, ¿no? Una música aquí para los difuntos y para todos que estamos aquí presentes. So they're just grateful and I'm just thanking them for being here and for participating. So, okay, muchas gracias. Vamos a continuar. Ahora con los altares de los estudiantes. We're going to continue now with the student altars. Again, for purposes of the time, I'm going to just switch this a little bit. So, all right, so students that are in my class, get ready. I'm going to share images of your altars. So, okay. So this year, the class that's participating in this event is the Ethnic Studies 3700, which is Decolonial Spiritualities and Healing Practices class, which is a very unique class where we talk about tarot, astrology, santeria, curanderismo, and then also Día de los Muertos. So we're going to go ahead and start with the altares that the students did this year. So group one, if you're ready to go, I have your altar on the image here. I mean, the image shown already.
Thank you, Professor. Hello, everyone. First to go, yay. We are doing the group for unjust deaths of migrants on the U.S.-Mexico border, and we chose to honor a little girl by the name of Ana Danae Reyes Alvarez. She was an 8-year-old migrant from Honduras who unfortunately passed away in Harlingen, Texas at a Border Patrol facility on May 17, 2023, after her family had spent 9 days in CBP custody. She actually suffered from several illnesses, such as a chronic heart condition and sickle cell anemia, and she also tested positive for the flu. But while she was in custody, she was experiencing abdominal pain, vomiting, and had a fever that had peaked at 104 degrees. Despite her family pleading multiple times to get aid, the medical staff instead just responded by administering ice packs, fever-reducing medication, and cold showers. Unfortunately, she was the first reported to have passed away while in CBP custody as a child since 2019. And upon further research, we found out, according to the Ballard brief presented by Brigham Young University in January, that in the years of 2010 up to 2021, there were 160 migrant deaths from interactions with Border Patrol agents, and not one of them have been convicted of any wrongful deaths. 77 of those were caused by vehicle collisions from high-speed chases with Border Patrol agents. 61 were caused by on-duty CBP agents via asphyxiation, tasers, shootings, beatings, or some sort of chemical agent. 53 passed away due to failure of receiving medical services, just like Anadith, and 15 others were ruled homicide carried out by off-duty officers. Again, few were sentenced to prison time, and none have been convicted in any wrongful death. We also want to acknowledge Joel Reyes Munoz, who on January of 2022 fell from the 30-foot border wall between Tijuana and San Diego. He was quickly arrested and held in custody at the Otay Mesa port of entry without receiving medical attention. He passed away, unfortunately, after an hour and 45 minutes after his fall, and it was only after he stopped breathing that emergency personnel were called. And we are bringing attention to this because according to NBC San Diego, who reported on August 11th of this year, his family is actually suing the CBP for wrongful death. So yay, and good luck on them. Also on this altar, you'll see the buoys. And regarding these buoys, they were put in the Rio Grande River near Eagles Pass, Texas. The Texas governor put these buoys in the river, which is only 4 feet deep, but they have a mesh underneath them, and they're attached to concrete anchors to battle what he calls the invasion of migrants. Good Morning America reported on August 3rd of this year that a body was discovered trapped between these buoys, and Dallas News reported on October 5th that the Fifth Circuit Court had halted an Austin, Texas judge's order that would remove this 1,000-foot-long barrier on September 15th. That case is still ongoing. But it's not just on the U.S. side of the border that unjust migrant deaths are happening. According to an article by Amnesty International on March 29th in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, 39 migrants passed away and 29 were hospitalized after a fire broke out at a migrant detention center. There are also allegations that those who passed away were still locked in the cells while the fire raged. They had traveled all the way from Venezuela, Honduras, Colombia, El Salvador, and Guatemala seeking a better life. But there are also reports of overcrowding and insufficient supplies of food and water in these centers. And to give you an idea of scale, in just 2022 alone, there were 316,000 people placed in these detention centers on the Mexican side of the border. So on this altar, you'll see stuffed animals. There's also a little candle representing representing her age. There's also a badge. It's a CBP, Customs and Border Patrol badge, splattered in blood to acknowledge that these officers are operating with blood on their hands. There's also a medical bag, and it's a double meaning. Not only was she denied medical care, but she actually wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. That was her dream. So we included the buoys, we included the Mexican border wall, and also within her altar, there's the surrounding representing the detention center cells where they were kept. So thank you.
Thank you so much for raising awareness on this critical topic. And again, for folks, feel free to use the chat room to express anything that may come up. Thank you so much. Next group, I'm going to show a video that they produced. Well, let me just make sure I have sound. Yes, I do. Okay.
Altar is dedicated to honor the young victims of police and state violence, both stateside and abroad.
Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go.
Our altar is dedicated to honor the young victims of police and state violence, both stateside and abroad. We have constructed 3 tiers, with the first tier in homage to Alberto Sepúlveda, focusing on local community activism. The second tier dedicated to the children and the minors who have lost their lives due to state violence globally. And the third tier honors Chicana Young, a 21-year-old pregnant woman from Columbus, Ohio, all gone too soon at the hands of police and state brutality. We will be portraying the consequences of recklessness and disregard for human life. We want to shed light on the harsh reality that no person is too young to fall victim to this disturbing truth that still ails us today. It was about 6:15 a.m. on September 13th, 2000. The Modesto Police Department executed a federal search warrant for meth trafficking where no drugs were found. But that didn't stop veteran SWAT team member David Hahn from pointing his gun at Alberto Sepúlveda's back, even after the 11-year-old had complied and was lying face down on the floor. MPD's Chief Watson and a variety of officers, mostly unarmed, attempted to manufacture excuses. But after 3 investigations, the best they could come up with was a farce about the radio or his knife somehow snagging the trigger. The simplest explanation was that Hahn had pulled the trigger, but the officials stayed as far away from that as we could expect. In respect to global affairs, it was reported in June of this year that a staggering 315,000 grave violations against children in conflict were verified by the United Nations between 2005 and 2022. A stark illustration of the devastating impact of war and conflict on children. As states, donors, and the humanitarian community met in Norway for the also Conference on Protecting Children in Armed Conflict, UNICEF had reported that since monitoring began in 2005, UNICEF had verified 315,000 grave violations committed by parties to conflict in more than 30 conflict situations across Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. These include more than 120,000 children killed or maimed. Chicana Young and several others were accused of stealing alcohol from a Kroger store on South Sunbury Road on August 24th, according to Blendon Township Police. The others left and drove away, but she was parked in a spot in front of the store in a sedan with no license plate. The officer approached the driver side and the other officer in front of the car, telling Young to exit the vehicle more than a dozen times, which she did not do, according to police. Young then allegedly pulled the car in gear and drove toward the officer, directing in the path of the oncoming car. According to Blendon Chief of Police John Belford, the officer shot through the windshield, hitting Young. The car stopped about 50 feet away on the sidewalk outside the store. The Ohio Bureau of Investigation is investigating the shooting. Belford said the officers involved were placed on administrative leave. Takaya Young died from a single gunshot wound to the torso, with the bullet hitting her heart. She was pregnant at the time, and her baby approximately 25 to 28 weeks old. The coroner's office had ruled her death a homicide. Our final tier consists of pan de muerto, the elements of water, fruit. We have some sugar skulls, we have our salt, and we have our incense. This project was made possible by Xavier Sandoval, Margaret Sanchez, and Mariana Gamboa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the work the group put in and for raising awareness on all those critical issues. Okay, we're continuing with the next group. Tisha, you ready?
Yes, hi. Thank you. My name is Tisha Downing. And I'm Amaya Renteria. And our altar is on Femicide in the Americas. We remember you.
Jasmine Garz, an Argentine-American journalist, once wrote in an article about femicide, "What should women expect?" The answer is given around the world every day. The answer is in a trash bag on the Ecuadorian beach. It is swallowed down with every birth control pill taken by migrant women before they travel from Central America to the US. It's in the quick footsteps of girls everywhere who walk fast so they don't get hurt or bothered on their way home. It is a love shown by a partner through their fist. This is a reality many women face. The horrible truth is that their deaths are forgotten and are blamed for their fates. Our altar is to honor and remember women who were affected and forgotten when it comes to femicide, murder, and how it is a universal problem. Women are targeted for just being women, and it is a big issue for marginalized women and girls, with the risk factor being much higher than we think. Most cases are unaccounted for and never investigated. Femicide is a silent epidemic, and the main roots from misogyny and the patriarchal structure of white supremacy. Other causes are sexism, racial and gender discrimination, state-sponsored violence, stereotyped gender roles, unequal power relations between women and men, and harmful social and cultural norms. Some men feel women are not equal and feel like they do not deserve to be here if it does not serve them, which leads to two of the main causes of femicide: domestic violence and gang violence.
Unfortunately, it's happening all over the world, but our altar focuses on women in the Americas. El Salvador, Antigua, Barbuda, Jamaica, and Venezuela are reported to have the highest rates of femicide in the world. A report dated October 21st, 2023, estimated 38 Salvadorian women died due to femicide from January to October 17th, 2023. Of those, 3 were under the age of 10, 17 of them were 20 to 59, and 3 were between the ages of 66 and 80 of those that were identified. In Mexico, in the year 2022 alone, a total of 3,754 women and girls were murdered, according to data from the Executive Secretary of the National Public Security System. Of this total number of cases, only 947 were investigated as femicides. Mexico has officially registered over 110,000 missing people, and in a recent report from a Mexican human rights organization noted that over the last 6 years, the number of disappeared women and girls has tripled. In the US, 39.8% of American Indian and Alaska Native women experience violence, including 14.4% who experience sexual violence. Of the estimated 4,970 females murdered in 2021, data reported by law enforcement agencies indicated that 34% were killed by their intimate partner. Our altar represents We have the doll, which represents their innocence and childhood. The backpack is for the young girls and women who are denied a chance to pursue education and have futures. The red shoes are represented for Elena Chauvet, a Mexican political artist best known for their art pieces Los Zapatos Rojos. The red shoes highlights gender-based violence by representing women who have faced or lost their lives due to gender, race, violence, and femicide. The pink crosses represent the movement against violence towards women, and the red handprints and the red dress made of marigolds in the walkway up to the altar represents solidarity with missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in North America. The different sizes of the hands represent the young and old. The blank Polaroids reflect the murdered women whose faces and names have been forgotten and honor and remember them by bringing in attention to the injustices which cut their lives short. So we ask the question again, what did they expect? They expected social and cultural norms to stop blaming women for their assaults and end the violence against them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for raising awareness on that very important critical issue. We're going to continue with two more altares. So the next group. Oops, there you go. Okay.
Infrared, I'll set up right next to me. Okay. I want to begin with some statistics. 5% of the youths in America today identify with a different gender than the one on their birth certificate. 82% of transgender individuals think of ending their lives at least one point in their lifetime. 40% go through with it. 70% of all the murders against transgender individuals recorded have happened in South and Central American countries, 33% coming out of Brazil, Mexico, and the USA. 88% of POC are victimized in this. 48% were misgendered or dead named by authorities or the press. And 28 people this year have already been killed, and if the trend continues, it will be 30. But that's an improvement from the last year, which ended with 53 men, women, and children murdered. There's even a registry or a hub to count the amount lost to suicide. And if there were, the numbers would still be highly skewed because we don't know the amount who died, because they and their memories and what they stood for are buried along with wrong names. Today, with our altar, we are not just honoring those very same human lives past, but we don't want to just remember them. We want to fix what ended them. This is not just for honor and remembrance. This is to remind you what happens when we turn our eyes to mockery, ridicule, government negligence, jokes, and hate crimes alike. Violence against the trans community is not a joke. Children like 13-year-old Onyx John and 12-year-old Leo didn't laugh when mocked, when telling classmates that they wanted to change their names. They kill themselves. And the children that did laugh, they are told they are right by school districts for outcasting children, and they become the law and representatives in your state that pass legislation and kill humans with their bare hands. Humans like Ashley Burton, like Emmanuel Esteban, whose family had called him Tortuguita, and he was an environmentalist, and he was murdered by the hands of police just for protesting. A previous presenter told you about police violence, you know the impact, but remember, when you remember the deaths of people like Sia Woodland or Zachi Imanit Wito, that even when they don't pull the trigger exactly, they allow this very same violence to happen. Our altar is sat on black and brown velvet. It's a little bit of luxury, we figured, for the backbones of our communities, the black and brown bodies that we've built over. And our trans ribbons, they've been bloodied, they've been burnt, they've been desecrated, they've been defiled, like the bodies and memories of so many. Like the body of Sorai Atania, 31 and found dead in a canal just this past year. One of the many transgender sex workers who will continue to be brutalized in Mexico. We also incorporated as much color as we could. It's not lost on us on how many children we lose every year, how many kids are taken or forced to leave. So we want to shower them in as much color as we could, and we see cob. There are many cultures and religions that don't let you honor the dead.
I think we may have lost the connection. Unfortunately, there seem to be some glitches there. But we thank this group, regardless, for presenting on this really important topic, especially right now politically, what's going on in the country with a lot of laws that are not supporting this population.
I'm good. Real mood killer, honestly, though.
Okay, we're gonna go. Do you have anything else to add, or do we move on?
Yeah, my internet cut out really quick.
Yeah.
My video won't pop up back up, but I do have the end of this speech still. I apologize. It's just the ending. So, there are cultures and religions not honor their lives. I'm sure that you can think of a few that won't hold those races for fewer queer folk, and they find the act monstrous when the same people who would not honor those now dead when they were still alive. It is why we honor them today, to make up for those who let them down in life, neglected them in life, and made them feel worthless.
Hey, Lauren, your connection is pretty bad.
I'm waiting for the internet to cut up. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the purposes of time, we're going to continue to the next group, and maybe your connection will resolve toward the end. You can continue.
I'll figure it out.
Okay, next group, final group. Can you please share?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Ceballos, and today my altar is in commemoration to the death of the land globally at the hands of us humans, and specifically in the current events of Lahaina, Hawaii. Global warming and climate change are two interconnected phenomena that are currently occurring and will continue to have significant impacts on the planet. Global warming refers to the long-term increase in Earth's average surface temperature, primarily caused by the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Climate change, on the other hand, encompasses a broader range of changes in weather patterns, including temperature, precipitation, wind patterns, and more, resulting from global warming. The consequences of global warming and climate change are already being observed worldwide. These include rising temperatures, melting ice caps and glaciers, sea levels rise, extreme weather events such as hurricanes, droughts, and heat waves, shifts in ecosystems and biodiversity, and the disruption to agriculture and food production. A devastating fire, which has been one of the biggest in 100 years, burned nearly 2,170 plus acres of land, roughly nearly 2,000 homes, and killing, as of now, 97 people, with about 1,300 missing. The fire caused environmental disaster to the historical town. The fire, which reached temperatures as high as 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, moving at about a mile per minute, took everything in its path. The conditions that spawned the blaze attributed to global warming. Hawaii was suffering from drought conditions. The run-up to the fire and was also hit with strong winds due in part to Hurricane Dora, which passed south of the island. This is what a fire hurricane looks in the era of global warming. Starting top to bottom in the altar in commemoration to the land is on grass with a cloth made out of straw. I've added copal to attract the enlightened spirits and repel the negative ones. For the ofrendas, pan de muerto, and some local food such as masubi. Next to the food is a cane to represent the elderly, lost, and dead. The water to calm the soul's thirst after their long journey. The lei is around the candles that signifies the lost traditions. We also have some fruits such as pineapples and coconuts, and then to the left, I've added some toys for the innocent souls. To the right, there's a dog bowl for the lost pets and animals, which as of now, there's 3,000 pets that are still lost or missing, and thousands more that are not accounted for since they're wildlife, such as rabbits, just small animals. I've added also incense and candles to guide the energies, as well as some corals because the marine and ocean life suffered as well. The ark is made of cempasúchil, which with native hibiscus, yellow and red flowers as decoration. This represents life, death, and the rebirth. I've also added a single bird to represent the loss of wildlife and fauna. On the left side, there's another bird, but that's to represent the peace. The center is an image created of the fire in Lahaina. This is to the loss of the land, species, and humans. We will do better. This world belongs to us all, and we have to care for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for raising awareness on that critical issue. So thank you to all our students who presented their altares on the different topics. We really appreciate it. We're going to continue with Janila and take it on we're almost toward the end of our event.
I brought a little sharing treat. This is my dog. She's a Xoloscuincle. So if you remember the talk that Patricia gave a little bit earlier, Maestra Patti, she talked about how we care for our dogs. And so some of you may be familiar with the Xoloscuincle. These are our little spirit guides to the spirit world. So I thought this is Huitzilin. So I thought she can come and say hi to you all this evening.
Of course.
And so what I'm going to ask now, as we're getting close to the end here, is I'm going to ask you all to write the names of the ancestors you are thinking about tonight, the ancestors that are represented with your candle, and put their name in the chat. And to make this easy, I'm going to, as the names come up, I'm going to speak those names out loud. And with your mic on or off, all you need to say is presente. And so this is a tradition that we do, is that we're reminded that all the ancestors that walk with each of us, that are present with us, that they are present with all of us here in this community. So as you start to write names in the chat, I will say them out loud. And with your mic on or off, just say presente. The first one, Umama Andre Leighton Roth.
Presente.
Presente. Bisabuela Ugogo Graham Leighton.
Presente.
Presente. Margarita Vázquez.
Presente.
Presente. Adolfo Tachiquín. Presente.
Presente.
Ángela Espinosa. Presente.
Presente.
Kimberly Love.
Presente.
Mama Lala.
Presente.
Presente. Ramon Gudino. Presente.
Presente.
Lauren Gaunt Owen Gaunt.
Presente.
Marcos Galaviz.
Presente.
Sirina García.
Presente.
Presente.
Licerio Jaimes.
Presente.
Carlos Jaimes.
Presente.
Jesús Jaimes.
Presente.
Silvia Fernández.
Presente.
María Calderón.
Presente.
María Melissa Buenafé Anderson.
Presente.
Tiburcio Mojica.
Presente.
Elia Varela.
Presente.
Presente.
George Millman. Presente.
Presente.
Perdo.
Presente.
Isabela Rangel.
Presente.
Meki Biutao.
Presente.
Randall Crow Acosta.
Presente.
Pablo Plasencia.
Presente.
Dolores Aguirre.
Presente.
Mónica Rubio.
Presente.
Alfredo Cerrato.
Presente.
José Aguilar.
Presente.
Abuelita Teresa.
Presente.
Abuelito Ezequiel.
Presente.
Angelina Aguilar.
Presente.
Aurora.
Presente.
José María.
Presente.
Salvador.
Presente.
Dolores Igumaro Díaz. Presente.
Presente.
Altagracia.
Presente.
Aldo.
Presente.
Josefina.
Presente.
Eri. Presente.
Presente.
Iván. Presente.
Presente.
Esperanza.
Presente.
Teofilo Ceballos. Presente.
Presente.
Olivia Solórzano. Presente.
Presente.
Manuel González. Presente. Roy Rice.
Presente.
Cynthia Burks. Presente. Yvette.
Presente.
Dexter. Presente. Howie.
Presente.
Paula Gutiérrez.
Presente.
Kyle Hollis. Presente.
Presente.
Moisés.
Presente.
Francisca.
Presente.
Norberto.
Presente.
María.
Presente.
Sergio.
Presente.
Beckham.
Presente.
Natalie.
Presente.
Ramona Ortiz.
Presente.
María Gertrudis Luna. Presente.
Presente.
Bo Clark.
Presente.
Les Downing.
Presente.
Christine Churi. Grandma Dawn. Presente.
Presente.
Snoopy D. Presente.
Presente.
Nicolás Arceo.
Presente.
Efren Ramírez.
Presente.
Isela García.
Presente.
Edgar de León.
Presente.
Lilivia Pudúa.
Presente.
Guillermo.
Presente.
Jason.
Presente.
Little Anthony.
Presente.
José Manuel Luna.
Presente.
Guillermo Luna.
Presente.
Santiago Soto.
Presente.
Teresa Aguilar.
Presente.
Alex Ruiz.
Presente.
Martín Efren Ramírez. Presente.
Presente.
Larry Orozco.
Presente.
Chago Soto.
Presente.
Don Abraham. Presente.
Presente.
All my ancestors, all my loved ones, known and unknown, to your loved ones and to you. Presente. Edwin Cora Maya Alegre.
Presente.
Chucky.
Presente.
Ángel Pacheco León.
Presente.
And to all those ancestors that have not been mentioned, that have no one to remember them, we remember them here. Presentes.
Presente.
And I'm going to close us here with the song. And after this, those who can stay on a little afterwards, we're going to show a special tribute to Roberto Cintli Rodriguez. And so if you have, if you're able to stay on a little bit longer,
I'm out.
if you're able to stay on, it would be great. If you can't, we understand. But I am going to close this out honoring all the ancestors that we mentioned this evening, all those candles that we have lit. I ask you to continue to pray with those candles. Drink a glass of water and honor all the 4 elements that give us life. Chikewa sochi, chikewa panoyolo, pampani mitla sotla, pampani mitla sotla, ikanochi no yolo. Cuida esta flor, cuídala en tu corazón, porque te quiero con todo mi corazón. Chikewa sochi, chikewa panoyolo, pampanimit la sotla, pampanimit la sotla, ikanochi no yolo. Cuida esta flor, cuídala en tu corazón, porque te quiero con todo mi corazón. Oh, Mateo, thank you all. And I'll hand it over to Dr. Bañales to close us out with that tribute.
All right, so we're gonna have a professor, Dr. Juvenal Caporale from Ethnic Studies, and he did a video recording for us to honor our professor in Chicano Studies and Ethnic Studies who had an impact, who passed away this year. And so we just figured we want to honor and do a tribute to him as we close out this video. So we're gonna end there.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Ethnic Studies Department at Stan State, I want to welcome you to the 9th annual Día de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. It is an honor to be here today. The present is a present. That's why it's called the present. And I was given the opportunity by Dr. Bañales to share some memories about people who were close to me. And again, it's a privilege and honor to be here. My name is Juvenal Caporale. I am a professor in the Department of Ethnic Studies here at Stan State. And again, it's a privilege and honor to be here with you today. And before I go further, special shout out to my students, especially those who are completing extra credit. I apologize I couldn't be here, but nonetheless, this is how I will be sharing space with you. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to share before, getting started. So I want to take the time right now to remember Dr. Seatley, also known as, his name is Roberto Rodriguez. He was a professor at the University of Arizona in the Department of Mexican American Studies. He was part of my dissertation committee, and you can say he was a friend, elder, and I will even say he was a teacher. I also want to take the time to recognize Chino. Chino, he was the director of a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center in Tijuana. I did research there as a Fulbright scholar a couple of years ago. And so both of these two leaders embody my research. They embody the concepts and research that I engage with. My research centers on the healing, indigeneity, rehumanization, and also in this case, the rehabilitation of men and women in the San Diego, Tijuana borderland. I also want to take the time to, remember a few individuals who are part of this, of the rehabilitation center in Tijuana. And one of them is Sombra and another one is Sarabia. And I can't also forget about Don Carlon. I forgot to add his name. As you know, it's been a hectic week to say the least, and so I also want to recognize Don Carlon, also teachers, mentors of mine that I interviewed, that I was given the privilege and honor to interview them and share space with them. Because of them, I've learned a lot of these things. They not only helped me become a better researcher, a better human being, but also continue to inform my work. And I'm very thankful that I was able to, again, learn from them and share experiences. And so this is the day, right? Before proceeding, so I want to center more on Dr. Seatley's work, because I feel that one is more central to mine, and it overlaps again with this holiday. So in many ways, it starts with one of his works amongst many, right? Dr. Seatley was one of the leading experts when it came to, indigeneity, the concept of indigeneity, right? And he wrote a famous book called Our Sacred Maize is Our Mother. And so you can say this is a modern day codex. And this is a story of maize. This is how maize was delivered to the, you can say to the Maya Nahua people, in Mexico 7,000 years ago, right? And again, so if you are Chicanx, Latinx, Mexican, indigenous, Central American, you are part of maize culture. At the root of our culture is the concept of maize. And this is one story among the many that exists about maize. And so I wanted to share some of his work so that you can learn more about it, right? Because again, it has been central to my development as both a scholar and a person, right? So in his book, in the prologue, Dr. Seatley writes, at the dawn of the fifth sun, after creator couple Quilatzli and Quetzalcoatl created humans many thousand years ago, they soon realized that humans needed to eat. So Quetzalcoatl, bringer of civilization, is put in charge of bringing food to the people. Walking along, Quetzalcoatl notices red ants carrying kernels of corn. Quetzalcoatl asks one of them, "What is it on your back?" Seatley, one replies, "Maize. It's our sustenance." "Where did you get it?" The ant hesitates. At that, Quetzalcoatl tells the ant that the newly created humans need food. The ant still refuses. "The people will die without food." Quetzalcoatl pleads. Reluctantly, the ant points towards Tonaltepetl. I still got to get it together when it comes to some of these words. A nearby mountain, also called the Mountain of Sustenance, follows me. So what was interesting about when Dr. Seatley noticed this story was that there was a gap in the codex, because it was never written why the ant was reluctant when it came to sharing maize, when it came to sharing corn. And so this is where Dr. Seatley, as a scholar and elder of our community, provided an answer to the story. And I want to continue by addressing some of the concepts, because I believe they're still relevant to us today. And part of the reason the ant was reluctant, it had to do with human beings becoming greedy when it came to the corn. That we were not going to have wisdom, and that we were going to exploit not only people, but also the corn, right? And so there is a conversation that takes place between Quetzalcoatl and the ant. And so again, Quetzalcoatl is pleading for the ant to share where the corn was found, so that they can feed the new human beings, right? But this is that you teach me, says Quetzalcoatl, is what I will teach them. Not just that, Santo Seatley is their sustenance, but that they themselves are made from maize, that this is where they come from, that they themselves are sacred human beings, and it is who they are. And again, so you see the ant still reluctant, right? So then the ant asks Quetzalcoatl, tell us what it means to be a human being. What will be their traits and character, and what will guide their beliefs? And so there is, again, a back and forth, right, between the ant and again, the ant informs Quetzalcoatl, right? There will come a time in which they will no longer recognize its sacredness. They will forget about it. They will no longer treat it with special care. And because, again, maize doesn't grow by itself. It was not only engineered by Mexican indigenous people, but maize requires human intervention. And so this is why we know that people who come from maize have been around a minimum of 7,000 years. And again, they need to protect it, right? And so again, the ant says it is the future generations who will not understand its sacredness, who will lose the values and understanding that come with maize and will no longer bother to honor and protect it. And again, Quetzalcoatl responds, humans have to be given the opportunity to learn and to teach others the sacredness of these foods and the sacredness of the earth and of life itself. They have come to understand that they are part of creation itself. So again, the story goes in that Quetzalcoatl becomes a black ant, as you can see right here in the codex, right? And this is where they both go together and bring, maize to the people. And this is how the story ends of how. So this is an origin story that was brought, that was created by, you can say, by indigenous ancestors, and they left us these concepts behind. And so now I want to talk about a little bit of the Maya Nahuatl concepts that Dr. Seatley, shared with us in these books. And these slides actually come from him when I was a TA for him at the University of Arizona, right? And because we're running out of time, I just want to, mention a few of them. Two of which I think are the most, not most important because they're all important, correct, right? But how they were crucial when it came to Mexican American studies. For some of you who don't know, Mexican American studies was banned in Arizona. And one of the reasons it was banned, you can say, was because they utilized indigenous concepts, right? And two of which were very important. One was the concept of en Lakesh, as you can see, right? And the other was Pancheve. En Lakesh translates to tú eres mi otro yo. You are my other self. It teaches students to see themselves in each other. Thus, it would be difficult to truly hate others because to do so will be to hate oneself. And so en Lakesh overlaps with the golden rule, but again, it encompasses all, the earth and all creation. And finally, the last one I want to share is Pancheve, buscar la raíz de la verdad, or to seek the root of the truth, to find the truth in the root. And again, Dr. Seeley reminds us that it has to do with pursuing peace, dignity, and justice. So because of time, I just want to end it here. But again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share, to remember Dr. Seeley, to remember, some of the men, and Don Carlón, Chino, Sombra, Sarabia, their work and their stories are still with us. And for that, I am grateful for. Thank you. And again, big shout out to everyone here at San State. Thank you for supporting our department. And again, it's been great sharing this space with you. Have a great day and have a great rest of your evening, because by the time you see this video, it's going to be evening. And I look forward to sharing more space with all of you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here to at least honor and see the tribute to these professors and folks in who've made an impact in our community in one way or another. So yes, que viva Sintli and others. Okay, everybody, thank you for staying here. May you and your loved ones who've passed on be with spirit with you today. And thank you so much. And please look at Ethnic Studies website for future events that are coming up. In fact, Dr. Juvenal Caporal, who just did the video, is going to be hosting an event on men's healing, healing masculinities at the end of November. So that's another opportunity to stay in touch. Okay, everybody. Gracias a todos. Someteo.